It's the week that we all look forward to for 51 weeks of the year. The finest collection of thoroughbreds and the finest pageant of the racing year. It's a week where there's big money as well as prestige. There's almost £1.25 million of added prize money on offer, and today sees Ascot's richest ever six-figure prize. Well, the weather, I'm afraid, as forecast, is dull and cold. We've had a couple of showers already. That wretched trough of low pressure just won't blow away. But the British are handling it all with their usual sang-froid, although some people are dressed more for a wet day at Wimbledon than they are for the Royal meeting. But as you can see, there are picnics in the car park, and, well, cars in the car park are probably as good a place as any to be at present. The going, meanwhile, in the view of the clerk of the course, Captain Beaumont, is as near perfect as it's ever been on the first day. Officially, it's good. Up until now, Ascot has missed much of the rain. There was a third of an inch last Friday night, but it's been pretty dry in the last 48 hours. And the crowds, well, inevitably, they're not quite what you'd expect on an Ascot first day in view of the weather, but they're waiting with keen anticipation and the usual plucky British spirit for the arrival in about 10 or 15 minutes' time of the royal party from Windsor Castle. And of course, many of them looking forward to seeing this face for the first time in 6 years. At the age of 55, Lester Piggott, back in the saddle, comes back to the scene of some of his greatest triumphs. Well, our four races today feature one of RoyalAscot's three Group 1 events, the St James's Palace Stakes. That's at 3:45. The winner's prize is over £121,000. And the supporting races are all group races. At 2:30, the Queen Anne Stakes. At 3:05, the Prince of Wales Stakes. And at 4:20, the Coventry Stakes, the most important two-year-old race of the season so far. And we've got one non-runner this afternoon. That's in the King Edward VII Stakes, number 3, Commendable. And I understand that Pat Edery rides Corrupt, although I have to say that is not yet confirmed. Well, it's a week where it's shown on television all around the world, and it's a week when jockeys have a very high profile indeed. And it's obviously a very important week for them. Jimmy Lindley rode many winners at RoyalAscot, including a double here on the first day in 1966, and he's with us throughout the week as usual. Jimmy, a big week for the jockeys.
It is, Julian. You start to get hyped a good fortnight before, really, when you're starting riding all the horses that you've got a book of rides of here at work in the mornings. And it really is a lovely feeling when they all start to bubble and bloom together, because it is the greatest course, as you say, the greatest meeting in the world. And you get all of the bloodstock agents from all over the world, because the horses that are racing here have been bought in America and Newmarket and Ireland, of course. And it is really the testing ground for all of the horses, the whole bloodstock of the world, really.
What's the procedure for a jockey when he gets to the course?
It depends, really. If you're like Willie Carson, he's one of the lucky ones. He comes here, it's like a club in there. As soon as you go downstairs, you lose all of the razzmatazz of Ascot. It's quiet, and except for a few jokes. But Willie hasn't got any weight troubles. The heavier boys, well, they've got a sauna down there, and of course everybody goes and has a sweat. It's rather like going to a health club. But it's a great atmosphere. The jockeys all mucking together, and there's no ill feeling. There might be at the end of the 4 days if somebody's been chasing one about a bit, but no, it's really like a private club, very hard to get into.
Schultheis has put up John Reed in the first race, but supposing it had been a German jockey, would they have helped him, or would they have given him a rough time?
Well, they do help, you know, but when you get out there, this is, as we're saying, the testing ground. You can't give any quarter. I mean, every little bit of grass out there is yours, and you've got to keep it. But no, if a horse is gone and you're out of the race and you shout for a little bit of room, very often you get it. It's rather interesting, though. The German horses, I always think, are much better on the continent than they are here. The German tracks are different than ours, Julian. They're a little bit rougher, the actual terrain, and you'll find that when the German horses come out, they lose a little bit of that form that they do show in their own country. It's very strange.
Well, now, how will the jockeys spend the afternoon? They obviously have to get here very early, and do they watch the television, or they play cards, or what?
A lot of cards, you have a game down there, and a lot of money changes hands as well. But mainly the jockeys here, a lot of them are busy, because the top jockey at Ascot always comes from the strongest stable, nearly always. And of course, like Pat Edery, Willie Carson, Steve Cawthon, they're riding for the big stables. They're the busy boys. The odd jockey that comes here and he's got maybe one ride in the first and one in the last, well, he'll sit down there and he wins his money at the card table here.
And what about overnight? Do they stay in London or nearby, or do they go back to the big training centres?
Well, it's changed. Most of the jockeys go back home to the big training centres. You've got to get your horses working right the way through the week. I mean, say a horse running on Friday here, he'd be doing his last bit of work maybe today or tomorrow. Not serious, but you've got to keep him going. Trainers and jockeys like to stick to their mounts because the better you know your horse, when you get out there, you know all of his little quirks. I mean, it's like Pontevecchio, really. I mean, the more you know him, the easier it is to ride. Pontenova. As you know, he pulls a bit hard on the way to the start. If a jockey knows those little quirks with horses, Julian, you've got confidence to drop him off on a long rein. But if you don't know him, you're inclined to get hold of him and bustle him up, and he's gone with you.
Well, now, what about today? St James's Palace Stakes is the big race of the day, and Marjou's favourite, Nactel Francais, is a big challenger from France. So what's your view? Well,
I like him, and I've gone for him. I think that Guinea's form in France was very solid. He only just got caught on the line by Hector Protector. And I'm just wondering, really, Marjou's coming back from a mile and a half. John Dunlop is one of our best trainers, says he's 100% right. But as you know, Julian, Ascot's a graveyard for Epsom horses that have come from the Derby. I'm just wondering, he is a good horse, and if he hadn't have run in the Derby, I'd have said he'd nearly have won. But I've gone for Hector Francais, and I think he's a pretty good performer, and I think that form's solid in France.
Jimmy, thank you for that.
Thank
we'll
you.
be hearing from Jimmy throughout. For now, let's take a look round these lovely scenes at Ascot, because, believe it or not, the sun has come out.
The Royal Ascot meeting opens with joint favourites. One of them, Lester Pickett's mount, Candy Glen. They're 7-2, Bold Russian and Candy Glen. Sickerston is 8-1 with Lord Charmer and Rami and Swomi. Only Yours 10-1. A fair average has gone from 12 to 14-1. On 20, Dolpour. Nayland is 25-1, and Zilla is 33.
11 runners for this, the Queen Anne Stakes, a Group 2 race, run over the Old Mile. And the first one we're going to have a look at is the mount of Lester Piggott, number 1. This is Candy Glen. Ran a good race on the last of his 2 starts this term. That was when 4th behind last year's French Derby winner Sanglemore. That was at Chantilly a fortnight ago. Last season as a 3-year-old he ran very consistently in 10 starts, but his only success came when winning the Prix Daphne. That was a Group 3 race at Every, and that was on softish ground. Well, the ground here is going to ride absolutely super. I wouldn't think it'd stop anything. He's 7-2 joint favourite, very much fancied, and I thought looked pretty well in the paddock, John.
He looks well. It's hard to find a horse that doesn't look really well at this meeting, Jimmy, and in this race, with a couple of exceptions, they all look magnificent, and Candy Glen certainly does. He made his first appearance this season in the Locking Stakes at Newbury. There were only 4 runners. They went no pace at all, just sprinted over the last 3 furlongs, and he did quite well to finish 3rd, beaten 2 lengths and 3/4 by Polar Falcon and In the Groove. And as you say, he ran really well at Chantilly on French Derby Day when 4th to Sanglemore, Priolo and Zoma.
Look at number 4. This is Bold Russian, one of his main rivals. One of his best runs was here last season when a good second to Sally Rouse in the Jersey Stakes. He showed he was coming to hand on his last start. That was in the Brigadier Gerard Stakes at Sandown 3 weeks ago when beaten 2.5 lengths by Stagecraft. He should be cherry ripe here today. I think he's going to strip a much fitter horse, and Barry Hills' horses are really flying at the moment, producing winners left, right and centre. And Bold Russian, as John was saying, well, I don't think if you see a horse here at the Royal Meeting that looks bad, and just look at him though, he might look a shade better than some of the others. He's a joint favourite at 7-2, and what a lovely walker he is as well. Pat Edry in the saddle, and if Pat should win on this one, that'll put him on the 60 winner mark for the season.
Pat was riding in great form at Windsor last night, winning 4 consecutive races. When Bold Russian was second to Stagecraft at Sandown, that was over 1.25 miles, and 2 furlongs out when Stagecraft quickened. He left them all for dead except for Bold Russian, who went with him for a furlong, and possibly back to today's mile will suit Bold Russian. At any rate, the way he runs will indicate to some extent Stagecraft's chances in our next race, the Prince of Wales Stakes.
Let's have a look at the German invader, and there he is, number 3, Zilla. Has his first taste of English racing, in fact. He's a pretty useful performer in Germany, winning a Group 2 race at Dusseldorf and then a listed race at Baden-Baden. This season he picked up a mile listed race in Cologne. Well, those 3 tracks are always very competitive racing. He's 33-1. He has few English friends in the market, as you can see, But as I was saying a little bit earlier on to Julian, in fact, that the German horses seem to hold their form much better in their own country. I've ridden against them many times on English horses in Germany, and they seem to always be able to keep going that gallop towards the end, whereas when they journey to England, they don't seem to find that dash job.
He's won 9 times in Germany, most of them over today's distance of a mile. He's had 29 starts, and I was interested to hear his trainer tell Julian earlier that he'd never run on a straight course, and that can't be in his favour either.
Number 6, running in blinkers for the first time. In fact, this is Lord Charmer. He's been lightly raced, running 3 times last year, and was a most impressive winner of a mile maiden at Newmarket. He really slooshed in that day by about 12 lengths. Has been runner-up in his 2 starts this season, notably when beaten 2.5 lengths by Spritzol. That was a Goodwood last month. This burly son of our native has quite a big stride. If you watch him going to the post or coming back, he covers a lot of ground, a very strong individual. I think we'll see Walter Swinburne trying to take him down a little bit on the easy side, because he's got blinkers on for the first time today, and that's inclined to G them up a little bit. But, well, I think John Gosden, who trains this son of our native, must think that he's probably pulling their legs a little bit, so hence he's put the blinkers on him today.
His 2 runs this season have been over 1.25 miles. He's tried to make all the running. I should imagine with the blinkers on, those will probably be the tactics again today. He's ridden by Walter Swinburne, carrying the second colours of Lord White of Hull. The first colours carried by Pat Edery on Bold Russian wearing the usual yellow cap. Walter Swinburne in a white cap. The rain's starting to come down again. The umbrellas are coming up. And Lord Charmer, the only blinkered runner from the 11. Number 2, Sickerston, trained by Clive Britton, looks absolutely magnificent. Sickerston has won 6 of his 19 starts. He ran against Sanglemore at Chantilly last time out, finishing 6, 2 places and 3 lengths behind Candy Glen. But last year in Milan, he beat Candy Glen by 3 lengths. So you can take your choice on the form.
He's won 4 Group 1 races as well. Well, no matter what country you're racing in, that takes a bit of doing. As you say, he looks an absolute picture. Clive Britton's horses always do look well. They're running on a cloud at the moment, and well, I wonder if this horse could make the jump to English group racing here, because most of his racing has been done in his home country of Italy. You can see the umbrellas are up now, and I'm afraid the rain's beginning to fall out of a rather black looking sky, and let's hope we don't get too much rain, because the ground here is riding absolutely perfect flat racing, and we don't want too much rain. There's the horse we were having a chat about in the paddock, Lord Charmer, and he's going down nicely for Walter. Walter, a terrific horseman, though. Just look at that length of rein he's got on him, but just look at that stride. And you can see those 2 little pads on each hock on his hind legs. This is because most likely he speedy clips a little bit, and that's because his hind legs overreach his front, and he's rather inclined to hit himself with his front hooves. But Walter's making a good job of that, because, as I say, he is a big, raw-boned son. This is a lovely big burly horse, and well, just look at the way Walter's handling him on the way to the start. Uses himself. I wonder if the blinkers will work. In fact, his racing this year, he could just lack a little bit of finishing speed. He's got a very, very good gallop, but when the others quicken up on him, he just keeps on at the one pace. We'll soon see if he's been pulling their legs, because maybe the blinkers will work today. Walter, who's riding him, Walter Swinburne that is, in fact, is a master of foxhounds in Ireland, or he was, so he's ridden for many miles across country. And Walter this winter was one that wanted to have a go at the hurdle racing scene. He didn't manage it this year, but I bet you a pound to a penny that he'll have a crack next year. On the left of those 2 is number 7. This is Nayland, the mount of Steve Cawthon. Has run consistently. Last time up, in fact, he won the Zetterland Gold Cup handicap at Redcar. But he does take a big jump in company here. He's trying to go into group class. He should best suited when held up, so I think with Steve giving this horse a bit of a chance, John, do you think he'll make the jump to group racing?
Well, he's had quite a bit of experience already. He's had 16 races, and it is a big jump, but he won well last time, and he apparently has been working well. I see that he was the rank outsider in the field this morning in the early betting, but Graham Rock, you may have heard him say to Julian earlier that somebody had a bet of 1,000 each way on Nayland at 40 to 1. So whoever had that bet will be hoping for a good show from him. Steve carrying the second colours of Sheikh Mohammed, the first colours being carried by Frankie Dettori, who rides Suomi. Number 10 is Only Yours. Only Yours finished 5th in our 1,000 guineas behind Shadea. That was a very good run. She won last year at York and Newmarket, and also ran in the French 1,000, went 7th to Danseuse du Soir.
Nice filly, ridden by Bruce Raymond. She's 10 to 1 in the market, the only filly in the race, in fact. And Bruce Raymond, well, one of our very professional jockeys. He's very seldom makes a mistake through a race if he's on the right ammunition. And a class filly this, because earlier on in the spring, Richard Hannon thought that she would be a Guineas filly. She's just proved that she wasn't quite good enough at that, and drops back to a Group 2 race here, because both those Guineas were Group 1. Dolpor, number 5, the mount of Richard Quinn. That's him in the yellow colours with the white cross. He's only had the one run for David Ellsworth. That was at Epsom, when he disappointed somewhat and could only finish 8th of the 11 runners behind a silver Honda and fair average. He won the Gordon Richards Stakes, in fact, at Sandown last year, but he was trained by Michael Stout, who trained him all last year. And he's got ability, but he was a bit disappointed on his one run this year, John, wasn't he?
He was a bit, but Epsom possibly not a suitable course for him, at any rate over a mile. All his 3 wins last season, or 3 wins to date, have been over a mile and a quarter. He was in the Prince of Wales Stakes here, the next race, which is a mile and a quarter, but David Ellsworth obviously thought that this race would be easier to win. David now trains him for Mr. Geoffrey Greenwood. As you say, Michael Stout used to train him for the Aga Khan. Number 8 there is Rami. This horse has got a lot of speed. He's never won over more than 7 furlongs. 3 of his 4 wins have been over 7, and 1 over 6 furlongs. He was very impressive when beating Norton Challenger and Swordsmith at Leicester in April. He had Nayland about 10 lengths behind in 5th place that day.
John was saying he's never run beyond 7, so he's got that extra furlong to see out here. And but he's by Riverman, and Riverman puts a little bit of stamina into his stock, quite a lot in fact. Peter Warwin, I would think, has tried him up Farringdon Road, and that's some of the stiffest gallops and the best gallops in England. He's 8 to 1 in the market. He should give the colours of Hamdam Al Maktoum a bit of a chance here today. Number 10, Only Yours, the only filly in the race. Let's have another show. Bold Russian, a 7 to 2, joint still with Candy Glen. Lord Charmer on 8s, Rami also on 8s, Sickerston gone out to 9s, Sumi gone to 9s from 8s, Only Yours 10, fair average 16s from 14s, so he's taken quite a drift, or she has, in the market. Dolpor 25 to 1, Nayland 25 to 1, Zilla 50 to 1 from 33s. Pretty tight market there on the joint favourites, and all eyes will be on Candy Glen and Bold Russian. One is drawn, Candy Glen is drawn 9, Bold Russian drawn 2. I would think Leicester will probably drop in on the fence straight away, somewhere near the leaders. You can see a little bit of rain just getting on our lenses of our cameras. Very difficult to keep clean. There's Ross Ahmed, who does number 5, Dolpor, in fact, has already won £100, being judged the best turned out in the paddock. And in fact, the lad that looks after him rides quite a lot of the jumpers for David Ellsworth. John, you'd know more about that.
Rode Cavies Clown a few times, as I remember, Jimmy, but they're nearly all in. Here's Peter O'Sullivan.
Winners of 37 races, under orders. That's Rami next to us, and they're running over the course in which the 31 runners will be running in the Hunt Cup tomorrow, and the German horse Zilla with Dolpour on his outside. That's Dolpour on the left. The German horse Zilla's just been overtaken now by Lord Charmer, with Nayland in the sheepskin noseband towards the near side. Sickerston well up there on the outside, but it's Lord Charmer in these blinkers for the first time, the leader, from Sickerston and Zilla and Nayland on the inside and Dolpour on the outer. Just in behind them come Suomi over on the far side. Lester Piggott's on the far side also on Candy Glen, but still Lord Charmer the leader. Lord Charmer from Dolpour on the outside, then Nayland under Steve Corson with Sickerston on his outside, Suomi making ground. Candy Glen is poised on the outer, and here comes Beau Rush and Pat Edery on the inside. Lord Charmer now from Nayland, then Beau Rush to the right of the picture. Candy Glen coming there strongly towards the left, towards the outside, as they race down towards the 2 furlong marker in the Queen Anne Stakes. Beau Rush on the right of the picture, Sickerston in the centre, Candy Glen wide of them. Rami's putting in a good run, and also well there still is Dolpour. Sickerston now just with the advantage, and Only Yours putting in a very good run too. Candy Glen has dropped out of it. Sickerston's the leader on the inside from Rami. It's Sickerston from Rami as they race now into the closing stages. Sickerston on the near side, but Rami putting in a tremendous run under Willie Carson on the far side. Sickerston and Rami as they come to the line. It's going to be very close indeed. And at the line, it's a photo between Sickerston and Rami, with Fair Average third, and a photo for fourth as well between Only Yours and Nayland. A photograph at the end of the first race at the Royal Meeting between, on the inside, Sickerston, ridden by Michael Roberts, trained by Clive Britton, who won this with a 25-to-1 chance in 1978 with Radetzky, and between Rami, number 8, owned by Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum, trained by Peter Warwin, who's looking forward to a great meeting and clearly with justification, and ridden by Willie Carson. And it's very close between those two, with Fair Average third and Only Yours fourth. But a photo for all places.
Sickerston loves a little cut in the ground, and obviously the rain over the weekend has come right for him. Lord Charmer led for 5.5 furlongs, was challenged on the rails by Bold Russian, but Sickerston always had a good place in the centre of the course. The German horse Zilla flattered for a moment, but didn't have a lot of room, and has now got disappointed and dropped away. 3 from the left, Lester Biggott brings Candy Glen under pressure, and now look to 2 from the left, or 1 from the left, as Rami makes his challenge, brought with what was virtually a perfectly timed challenge by Willie Carson, but has he got there or not? Sickerston's been in front now from below the distance. He's gone a couple of lengths clear from Lord Charmer on the stand side. Running on well into third place is the 3-year-old Fair Average, but it's a duel now between Sickerston and Michael Roberts on the rails, and Rami and Willie Carson in the centre of the course. And with every stride, Rami gets closer. Look at the way he sticks his head out. Terrific courage, this horse, but has he pulled back Sickerston, who has the rails to help him? It's rather like the 2,000 guineas. Michael Roberts rode that wonderful finish there on Mystico with the rails to help him. I think he's just held on in the Queen Anne Stakes in a photo with Rami.
There's Rami and Willie Carson. And this 4-year-old by Riverman out of Ancient Regime, olden times. And in the background there, Sickerston, who got a grateful pat from Michael Roberts as he passed the line. Clearly, Michael thinks that he's just held on all right. Sickerston a 9-to-1 chance. Rami 8-to-1. We still await the outcome, of course, of the photograph, and we await it under a very, very dark, threatening sky now, with all the umbrellas up here at Ascot, particularly in Tattersalls, which is just a sea of umbrellas at the moment. Willie Carson, by the look of it, content to go into second place. Well, content's probably not a very well chosen word, but feeling that he's no other option. Michael Roberts enjoying a spectacular season for his governor, Clive Britton. Waiting to hear if number 2 is called. Here it comes. First, number 2, Sikeston. Second, number 8, Rami. Third, number 9, Fair Average. And fourth, number 7, Nayland. So Sikeston at 9-1 opens the 1991 Royal Meeting with a great triumph in the Queen Anne Stakes, which, as I mentioned, Clive Britton won back in 1978 with a 25-1 chance, Radetzky. And a first in this prize for Michael Roberts. Queen Anne Stakes, of course, deriving its name from the founder. It was back in 1711 that Queen Anne rode over from Windsor and decided that this would be an ideal site for a racecourse. The ever smiling Clive Britton, he handles defeat as well as he does success. Sensibly raincoated. The distance is, by the way, a head and 2 lengths, and the starting price is as follows.
First, number 2, Sikeston, 9-1. Second, number 8, Rami, 8-1. And third, number 9, Fair Average, 14-1. Is 11-8. Nearest to him, Zoman, second favourite, 9-4. Terramon is 5-2. And then a big gap to Coringa Bay, 20-1, Croupier, 33-1, and the Star Streak, 50-1.
Yes, the Prince of Wales Stakes, of course. I know the cold's getting to my brain already. And this is Zoman representing the Derby-winning team of Prince Fahd Salman, Paul Cole and Alan Munro. He's in good form this season, and he was far too good for his rivals in Ireland in the Tattersalls Rogers Go Cup.
In the straight now, 2.5 to race, and Zoman goes for home. In the lead now, Zoman, the favourite from Topanura in second. Spending Record's gone 3. Then Victoria's Steed. Panoramic trying to make ground on the outside, but it's Zoman out in front from Topanura in second. A gap then to Spending Record, and then comes Victoria's Steed, but down to the final furlong now. And it's Zoman on the far side from Topanura. A gap then of 3 lengths to Panoramic, but Zoman has the lead inside the last half furlong now, and Zoman the favourite, increasing his advantage and going on to win this well under Alan Munro. Zoman wins it.
Since then, he's finished a close third in the Prix d'Ispahan behind Sanglamore, and that was the race in which Sikeston finished 6th, so that form is looking good. But can he beat Terramon and Stagecraft? So the jockey's about to mount. Yeah, now once again, Jimmy Lindley and John Hammer.
Well, he has run some super races, Julian, but he ran a bit free that day, so Alan will be trying hard to settle him. That was in the Prix d'Ispahan behind Sanglamore. And I think we'll see Alan Munro, who's about to get into the saddle. That's him in the green colours, just getting some final instructions from his trainer, Paul Cole, and his owner, Sheikh Fahad Salman. Just having a reassuring pat there. You can see Paul Cole about to feel the girths. It's very important not to have them too tight. And the lad nearly got a nip then, but Alan Munro in the saddle. As I was saying, I think we'll see Alan trying to get him settled early, because if he runs too free round here, there'll be 1 or 2 of the other runners waiting to pounce on him. They have to get home here up that hill when they turn into the straight, and that stamina's got to be reserved. He's by a firm, looking really well, and as he takes a turn around the paddock, but he looks really well, John.
He does, and you were saying, Jimmy, that Alan Munro will be trying to settle him. Well, he might have trouble here, because I can't see any of the 6 runners really particularly wanting to make it, but we'll discuss that a bit later. Zoman is 5-2 from 9-4. And Alan Munro missed the ride on this horse in France because of a suspension, but luckily for him, he came back the day of the Derby.
There's Her Majesty, the Queen Mother, looking as radiant as ever, and how she loves her racing. Always has something to say to owners or stewards, always has a smile for everybody. That's Malcolm Kibbins in the raincoat with his black top hat in his hand. And as I say, looking as radiant as ever. Matching handbag and shoes. And always looks so stylish. Let's have a look at Stagecraft as Her Majesty leaves the paddock. You can see just how they're taking a divot off the track here, although most of the jockeys have reported that the ground is riding perfect. I would say, as Julian was saying, it could ride just a little bit slow. The times are reflecting that, and you can see that they are taking quite a big divot off. 6-4 favourite from 11 to 8. That's Stagecraft in the centre of those three horses in the colours of Sheikh Mohammed. Seems to get better and better with each race. He won his last two starts as a 3-year-old, and his only start this term. He looked impressive when getting the better of Bold Russian and Croupier by 2.5 lengths in the same. He came from the middle of the field that day and stayed on well throughout the last furlong and a half. I think this track's going to suit him really well, and Steve thinks that he's got a very good turn of foot, and I think he'll be riding him for that job.
He showed a lot of foot at Sandown, Jimmy. He moved up third, turning into the straight, and then 2 furlongs out. Steve asked him to quicken, and as I said before, the first race when we were talking about Bold Russian was the only one who could go with him, and that was only temporarily. And Stagecraft, who was having his first outing of the season, won, easing up in the end by 2.5 lengths. That was his third successive win. He won his last 2 races last season. He was thought of earlier on as a possible Derby horse, but that came too soon in his career.
Good easy goer. Just in front of him is Coringa Bay. That's number 3 with Brian Rouse in the saddle. Coringa Bay, a tough and consistent performer who's shown some fair form. He's had 2 cracks at Epsom in the Derby last year and then the Coronation Cup a fortnight ago, and he's found that track not to his liking. I think he prefers right-handed tracks. Epsom was a left-handed track. He's nearly always run his best races round to the right. He's 16 to 1 from 20s and never runs a bad race. He really is a tough and consistent performer, and a credit to his sire Ardros. And well, his turn will come one day, if not today. Down at the start, 1.25 miles, and a very fair 1.25 miles too. They run downhill a little bit, the last bit of Swindley Bottom, and then they turn right-handed out into the old mile. That was the colours of Terramon, just going round behind, and there he is, number 6. On his day, Terramon can run with the best of them. In fact, as a 3-year-old, was second to Nashwan. That was in the Epsom Derby, and showed that was no fluke by running a good second behind In the Groove in the Coronation Cup at Epsom. His only other run this season was when winning the Earl of Sefton at Newmarket over 1 mile and a furlong, getting the better of Emperor Fountain by a neck on that occasion. His best when ridden from off the pace. Michael Roberts knows him well. He's just being hidden behind number 4 there, but John, when he puts his best foot forward, this old fella, he's pretty useful, isn't he?
He's very useful. He came from last to second at Epsom in the Coronation Cup. He waited on In the Groove, in fact, and In the Groove normally likes to wait on all the others and be the last to challenge, but Terramon was the last to challenge, and for a moment he looked as if he might run the mare out of it, but in the end he was beaten by 1/2 length. He had Coringa Bay back in 5th place.
He's by Bustino, and of course Bustino, that epic battle that he had round here in the King George and Queen Elizabeth, with Grundy just losing the verdict by a photograph. Well, we just had Joe Mercer standing in the box with us, who rode Bustino on that occasion. He's just left now, and he said, I think that we're in for some really exciting racing for the 4 days.
Number 3 is Coringa Bay, one of the 3 outsiders. It's 20 to 1 bar the 3 favourites, who are Stagecraft, Terramon and Zoman. Coringa Bay ran 3rd to Rockhopper at Newmarket, and in his only race since, he was 5th when Terramon was 2nd behind In the Groove at Epsom. He won the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood last year. He's a really good performer in his own right. And he was 33 to 1 this morning. Now he's only 20 to 1. So he has attracted a bit of support. Now 16 to 1, so got even shorter. I was saying earlier, Jimmy, that none of these are really noted for making the running, and some of them, like Terraman, emphatically have to come from behind, so the jockeys will presumably be aware of this, and one of them is going to have to make it, that's for sure.
I was talking actually to Alan Monroe just before the first. He came up with the same question. He wanted to know the answer to it as well. Who's going to go on, John? And if I was Brian Rouse and they did dawdle, I think I'd try and make it on Coringa Bay at my own pace, because he keeps sticking his head out and keeps going.
Number 5 is Star Streak, who won the White Rose Stakes here last year, but is held on recent form, having finished behind Stagecraft at Sandown. Finished 8th, in fact, when Stagecraft won and Croupier was 3rd. And also finished behind Coringa Bay at York last year. It's Terraman going in. It's Croupier going in on the far side. We've got Zoman and Coringa Bay still to go in. They're going to start pretty near the off time at 3:05. Coringa Bay has the blindfold on. He's going to go in all right with a little bit of a push. And I think we've only got one more, which is Zoman, who also has the blindfold on. He'll be going into stall 3.
He likes to come from behind, so also he can pull a bit. If they go no gallop, Alan Monroe's going to have his hands full here. He's going to go into the boxes, I think, nice and quietly. Let's join Peter.
That's it. The winners of 19 races installed. Under orders for the Prince of Wales, and they're running. Very good pace in the early stages. Coringa Bay a little bit wide of the others. Star Streak on the near side, taking a good strong hold. Zoman up with them, and then Stagecraft, then Terraman and Croupier in the Brigadier Gerard colours. Last at the moment as Coringa Bay makes it now. Coringa Bay from Zoman on the outside of Star Streak. Then comes Stagecraft and Terraman. Coringa Bay, Zoman, Star Streak and Stagecraft, Terraman and Croupier. They're going a real good gallop. Brian Rouse in the lead on Coringa Bay from Zoman and Star Streak. Stagecraft in 4th. Terraman and Croupier. Towards the left as we see them, Coringa Bay the leader from Zoman, approaching the 5 furlong from home marker. Star Streak just in behind him. Stagecraft towards the outside. Terraman next, then Croupier going well, although he's 6th of the sextet. Coringa Bay being chased along now by Brian Rouse as Zoman comes to join him. Then Star Streak, Stagecraft travelling well towards the outside. Then Terraman and Croupier swinging into the home stretch now, and Coringa Bay still has the advantage from Zoman. Stagecraft is challenging towards the outside, the right of the picture that is, and Terraman getting on terms as well. Coming down to the 2-pole, Coringa Bay, Zoman and Stagecraft travelling well on the outside, with Terraman looking a danger to him as he strikes the front now. Stagecraft and Steve Cawthon go on now by a length, being chased by Terraman and Zoman inside the final furlong, and Stagecraft is going to win this very comfortably indeed as they stride up towards the line. Stagecraft is well clear. It's going to be close for second, but up the line Stagecraft is the winner. Zoman and Terraman in a photo for second and third. Coringa Bay 4, 5 and 6 were Croupier and Star Streak. So the result of the Prince of Wales Stakes: first, number 4, Stagecraft, owned by Sheikh Mohammed, trained by Michael Stout, who won it in 1981 with hard fought, and ridden by Steve Cawthon, who last won it in 1982 on Kind of Hush. And a photo for second, a photo between Zoman, who probably just held Terraman.
Well, this was a brilliant performance by an improving horse. Sadler's Wells horse wasn't at his peak as a 3-year-old, but now as a 4-year-old, he's probably the top mile-and-a-quarter horse in Europe. He's come there very smoothly on the outside of Coringa Bay and Zoman. Coringa Bay set a terrific gallop. Zoman was at his shoulder coming into the straight, but when Steve Cawthon says go, which he does now, his horse quickens and goes away like a real champion. Drifts a little bit to the right, ends up almost on the far rails. Terreman's come from way off the pace, couldn't go the pace early on. Michael Roberts has got him running in the last furlong and a half, and he challenges strongly for second place. But Stagecraft is a real man now, and he's put up a terrific performance on ground, which helps him a lot. He likes a little bit of juice, a little bit of cut in the ground, and the rain over the weekend, like the first winner, has enabled him to show his very best form. Very tight indeed for second place. Zoman just holding it onto it here, but Terreman closing with every stride, and they're separated by only inches at the line. But the two of them are 2.5 lengths at least behind the most impressive winner, Stagecraft.
Sheikh Mohammed there to the right with his first winner of the 1991 Royal Meeting, and only the second race. Michael Stout in the light raincoat will be really delighted with this 4-year-old who's now won his last 4 races and all over today's trip, a mile and a quarter. Stevie, having won this, as I said, in 1982, and kind of hush at the outset of his brilliantly successful career in England. And Michael last won it in 81 with Hartford. In fact, kind of hush was Steve's very first Royal Ascot winner in this race. Stagecraft by Sadler's Wells out of Bella Calora, herself a useful mare by Belly Far. Winner now of 4 of his 6 races. Here comes the outcome of the photo for second, and Zoman was second and Terreman third. Fourth was Coringa Bay. So just to recap the official result of the Prince of Wales Stakes: first, number 4, Stagecraft, owned by Sheikh Mohammed, trained by Michael Stout and ridden by Steve Cawthon. Second was Zoman, owned by Sheikh Fard Salman, trained by Paul Cole and ridden by Alan Munro. And third was number 6, Terreman, owned by the Dowager Lady Beaverbrook, trained by Clive Britton and ridden by Michael Roberts. Terreman, incidentally, adjudged the best turned out, so he did win his lad £100 from the Ascot Authority. Patrick Chellis, that was, and here now the starting prices.
First, number 4, Stagecraft, 6-4 favourite. Second, number 1, Zoman, 5-2, and third, number 6, Terreman, also 5-2. 6-4 favourite, Marju. Acteur Français, 5-2. The second set, 7-2. These two are going out. Hokusai, 12. Same price, Majlood, 12-1. Sapir, 20-1. And Soleil Dancer, 33-1.
Well, the paddock's pretty bare at the moment. There's just a couple of the runners in. There's 2 of the 7 runners, Hokusai and number 6, second set. But as you can see, a good crowd down here. Ooh, I should say about 20 deep all around the paddock. And quite a lot of them come down to see Her Majesty the Queen as well as the runners. But they'll be treated to a special treat here because 7 runners here are all well bred. As you can see there, Hokusai showing that he's well-being. He's having a little jump and a kick. He won both his starts as a 2-year-old at Nottingham and Newmarket. He's run good races in the Craven Stakes at Newmarket and the Jean Prat in France. But he was well beaten in the 2,000 guineas and the Derby when running in Group 1 races. I'd excuse him for the Derby because I don't think he really got home that day. Leicester gave him a great ride, but even with the help of the maestro himself, he couldn't quite get to the placings. But he looked very well, and that run doesn't seem to have done him too much harm, John.
No, he looks well, Jimmy. As you say, a mile and a half was definitely too far for him, but he was right there at Tatnam Corner, and it was only really after passing the 2 that he dropped out of contention, or dropped out of contention for a place anyway, because Generous had gone well clear 2.5 out. But he was a very tough 2-year-old. He battled on well to win his 2-year-old races, and with Lester Piggott on board, he'll certainly come in for some support.
Let's have a look at number 1, the French Invader, Acteur Française. He's a very useful 2-year-old in France, this one. He won a maiden last season at Deauville, which always takes a lot of doing. It's a very competitive race in there. And then he ran the best race of his career this season when just caught on the line by Hector Protector. That was in the French 2000 Guineas, and he battled all the way to the line there. He wasn't going to give Hector Protector, the best miler in Europe, I would say, any inch. And, well, it was only right on the line that Hector Protector managed to get his head in front. He's 5-2 from 9-4. He's been lightly raced compared with some of the other runners in this race, and his well-being should be really on the mark. He's got Steve Cawthon in the saddle, so Steve knows his way around here at Ascot, and he's trained by André Fabre, who's really set racing alight in France and in his career, and his horses always look magnificent, and they always run their very best. And there you can see Her Majesty the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret walking down to the centre of the paddock. Princess Margaret also loves her racing and always accompanies the Queen, and also the Queen Mother when she goes to her first love, National Hunt Racing. And, well, I've got nothing but admiration for her because the weather can be pretty cold. Well, I'm perhaps a little bit of a judge on horseflesh, I think so, but a judge on fashion I do know. Eve.
Thank you. Well, there you can see the Queen Mother, and very sympathetically, rather the sort of style that she is, she's got an umbrella that you can see is see-through, so she has to put it up. Everybody can still see her. And there's Princess Margaret. Both of them are sort of icons of their own style, aren't they? I mean, you see Princess Margaret still wearing her sandals, despite the very cold day, with very high heels, in a bright blue. And the Queen Mother looking very chic. She's got a fine wool coat, and underneath that's a floral silk dress, and you can see the colours are taken up in her hat. And there you see the Queen, and she looks terrific in that hat, much larger style than she's used to, and it's got a flurry of bows at the back, very nice indeed. And that print is a rosebud print, and it's a pleated skirt on the Queen's dress. Princess Margaret's got a sort of bright blue silk frock with a white jacket, and you can see the Queen's jacket. It's a shantung, which is one of those silky fabrics. It's got a sort of a slight line through it of the self-same fabric, and she's obviously having a very nice day out, the sort of day she enjoys best. And there you can see her tiny bit of veiling round that hat, so we've got a really good look at the Royals. And there's the view of the paddock.
Well, you can just see the crowd there, and before we go back to the horses, let's have a look at the betting.
And Marju still in the favourites position there, 7-4, but there's a considerable move in the market for Hokusai. Opened at 12s, is now 8-1. However, Marju the favourite, 7-4, Acteur Français 11-4, a second set 4-1, Hokusai 8-1, Majloud 12-1, Sapieha 20-1, and Soleil Dancer 33-1.
There is the 7-4 favourite, Marju. He's a good-looking son of last Tycoon, this, after winning the Craven Stakes at Newmarket in April. Was very much fancied and made favourite to win the 2,000 Guineas. But leaving the stalls, Willie Carson said that he came out crooked, sideways, hit his stifle on the stalls, and never really got going and pulled up, quite distressed. In fact, he was a little on the lame side. Well, he got over that. He ran him in the Derby then, John Dunlop, his trainer, and he ran a super race. He was second behind Generous, only 7 lengths off the winner. He got stopped a couple of times down the hill when it really mattered. Don't think he'd have troubled Generous at the post, but, well, I think he might have been a little bit closer. He's 15-8 favourite from 7-4, and John Dunlop said he pulled out of the race well out of the Derby. It's a bit of a graveyard for that type of horse here at Ascot, but he looks well, and he looks pretty settled, John.
He looks really well, Jimmy. He's fairly lightly raced. He won his only race last year so easily that he really didn't gain much experience, and I think that told against him, because after winning the Craven Stakes he was then thrown into the 2,000 guineas. Obviously running over 1.5 miles at Epsom and then coming back to a mile here isn't the ideal preparation, but he looks as if he's taken it in his stride, and he can produce a tremendous turn of foot. He finished 7 lengths clear of the third in the Derby. Willie Carson has the mount, just touched off in the first race, and a favourite's chance in this one.
And also in the paddock, Princess Royal, and we had a quick glimpse of her before when she was in the carriage, and she's wearing a sort of soft gold yellow colour. Very simple outfit. Obviously going to continue with her mother's and her grandmother's love of horses and racing, and spectacular rider, and now making a name in fashion too, because I think she looks terrific. Very simple and determined to be quite comfortable today. She's got black accessories and grinning. She does look pretty when she smiles, as most of us do, I suppose. And there she is with a black umbrella. She's carrying herself, and a wrap over skirt you can see there. Very simple coat. And there you can see her moving on, moving back to the Royal Box. I think a nice cup of tea coming up soon. They're certainly needed. It's very cold out here, and there's the Queen coming through the crowd, and they're clapping and smiling, and very typically English scene, one of our great British occasions. There's the Queen Mother just behind, that bright orange yellow.
Royal Box to watch the 7 runners on their way down to the start of the Old Mile, and as always a very appreciative public. There's number 5, Sapir, ran a good race, went third in the French 2,000 guineas behind Hector Protector and Acte Française, and on that form has 4 lengths to make up on him today. He handles all types of ground, this fella. When winning the Horace Hill at Newbury last year as a 2-year-old, he looked a stylish colt in the making, I thought, and he's wintered well, and he's 20-1 in the market, and if he can't beat 1 or 2 of these here today in this Group 1 race, I'm sure he's going to pick another group race up before much longer. A nice horse, and I think, John, although the ground's reported good at Newbury when he won the Horace Hill, I mean, it was ground similar to today. It was a tiny bit, although perfect. The times were a bit slow that day, weren't they?
I think they were making a very good print that day, Jimmy, and he went through that really well. I think the ground won't be any excuse today. He's got 4 lengths to make up on Acte Français for the French Guineas when they were 2nd and 3rd to Hector Protector, and he's since been beaten at Kempton. Narrowly beaten only, ahead by Joie de Soir, with Suemi ahead away 3rd. Well, Suemi didn't do a lot for the form in the first race. He ran rather disappointingly. Sapir made his first appearance of the season in the Greenham Stakes at Newbury, but his run there can be discounted because he injured his jockey leaving the stalls and got a long way behind before running on at the finish. There is number 3, Marge Lude, making his first appearance of the season. He won at Goodwood last August, race for 2-year-olds that had never run. He was favourite to win that, odds-on favourite, and won it comfortably from Balat, and went on to beat Shalford by half a length at Kempton. Well, Shalford's a pretty fast colt. On his third and final start, he was third to Lycius and distinctly north in the Middle Park Stakes.
That was a good run too, John. He's 10-1 from 12-1. He's looking really well. As you were saying, he makes his 3-year-old debut here, but Michael Stout is a dab hand at getting his horses ready to actually give their utmost on their first run of the season. Coat shining there. Pat Edery in the saddle. Pat still looking for that 60th winner of the season here, but riding like an angel possessed. He rode 4, no less than a winner in France yesterday, and then went on to win on 4 of his mounts at Windsor. And well, he's got his own private aeroplane, and in fact his call sign is Edery, and he uses it to the full. Well, this is a Group 1, the St James's Palace Stakes. No less than £121,905 to the winner, and as always the Group 1 race is always preceded by a parade. So the 7 runners will go down the front of the stands to about the furlong marker, and then turn and walk back to the winning post, where the lads will let them off, and then they canter off right the way down to the start of the Old Mile. You can see the tents now just at the top end, and well, there's quite a lot of champagne, caviar, lobster and things like that consumed here at the Royal Meeting, and people really come to enjoy themselves and see the fashions. But what they do see as a bonus is the best bloodstock in the world racing for us. And there is Acteur Français, number 1, the mount of Steve Cawthon, trained in France by André Fabre, a lovely looking colt by Al Nasser. Hokusai, the mount of Lester Piggott, trained by Henry Cecil at Newmarket. Bay colt by Fighting Fit, ran in the Derby, didn't see the trip out, just getting a little bit warm. I wonder if that race has taken its toll. Number 3, Majlood, the mount of Pat Edery. He's by Danzig, he's trained at Newmarket by Michael Stout, and has his first run as a 3-year-old here. Marju, number 4, trained at Arundel by John Dunlop. Mount of Willie Carson, he's by Last Tycoon, another one that ran in the Derby. He ran a super race, finishing 7 lengths second behind Generous after not too clear a run. I think he'd have been a little bit closer. Number 5, Sapir, the mount of Walter Swinburne. This one's trained by James Fanshawe. He's by Pretorius. He's one of the best 2-year-olds, and I wouldn't think too long before he starts winning again. Number 6, second set. He's trained at Newmarket by Luca Kamani. Bay colt by Alzeo. He has Lanfranco di Torre in the saddle, and looked exceptionally well in the paddock. And the number 7, this is the last but not least, Soleil Dancer, trained by Matt McCormack, ridden by John Reed. He's by Fairy King, won his last 2 starts this year at Kempton and Thirsk. There are the 7 runners going down in front of the kaleidoscope of colour there. You can see the umbrellas shielding the fashions of most of the girls. Let's hope the rain eases off, but it looks pretty black, pretty dismal all the way round, and I would think that it's in for the day. But nevertheless, we have a ray of sunshine here because we have some really cracking racing, and well, even though it might look a little damp, I think it'll dry us off. The crowd looks a tiny bit on the small side here, I thought, earlier on. When the royal procession turned in to the stands, I noticed that there was not too many people there waiting, as many as usual. But there, once again, you can see the 7 runners as they turn down. Each trainer has put the utmost of work into his charge, trying not to boil him, not to get him too edgy, but he's got to get him coiled up like a gigantic spring, really. If you overwind the clock, you've lost it. And if you underwind it, well, they get a little bit tired. About the number board you can see there in the background. although it's not a very long straight when you turn into the straight here. It seems a long way on a tiring horse if you've shot him off too quick. And that's when they begin to wrap up on you, and you can hear the others picking you down. Steve Cawthon turns, walks away back up to the winning post. Steve Cawthon looking for his 35th winner of the season, a little bit behind schedule here, but because he is now first jockey for Sheikh Mohammed, he has to journey quite a lot of the times to France and other countries, and also it's not an easy job for John Hamner to actually find the outside rides, because trainers like a jockey to stick to their rides. Getting a little bit edgy there, as you see, but not a worry. I wouldn't be worried about that. He's just showing a nice keenness about the whole thing. That's the thing you see in France much more than here. Two lads leading one horse. You seem to like that. Or you might say one horse leading two lads. Another race. It'll be interesting to see what is going to cut out the early work. But he's a very attractive son of Al Nasser, this. A nice intelligent head, lovely big ears. Pop back and see how Hokusai is managing. Well, he's getting a little bit on his toes. He's been bobbing the whole time in the paddock and the parade, and as you can see, he's beginning to sweat quite heavily down the neck. Is he remembering that derby? Well, John, what do you think?
He looks very much on his toes. He was starting to sweat up before he left the paddock, well before, in fact, and the long parade won't do him any good. The parade takes a great deal longer than the race, and so Leicester will be trying to calm him. Won't be too long now before he's let go and allowed to canter down to the Old Mile start, and that will relax him a little bit once he's clear of the crowds and going off in a canter. Leicester sitting very still, so as not to upset him any more than he has to. And the parade takes several minutes. They go very slowly down to a point about a furlong and a half from the winning post, and then they walk all the way back again, which is a pretty stern test of a horse who's getting a bit upset. The crowd make quite a lot of noise here. The umbrellas don't help either, and both wanting a lead from the other one there. Lester Piggott on the far side and Steve Cawthon in the centre, and coming to the rescue is Pat Edery, whose horse Marge Lude is going down nicely, and Steve following him on Acteur Français. We'll have a look at Acteur Français because I was interested to see his trainer Andre Fabre quoted in the paddock in the paper this morning as saying that he thought the horse was certainly good enough to win the race and had the form to win the race. His one reservation was that he's an excitable colt, and he wondered how he'd handle the preliminaries and the parade. Well, when the signal went to mount and then there was a bit of a noise in the paddock, he did become a bit upset temporarily just before and just after Steve Cawthon mounted him. But since then he's calmed down nicely, and I thought he took the parade pretty well, and now he's got a lead going down. He's going down nicely, and he's followed down by the favourite Marju, who has been totally relaxed as far as I could see throughout the proceedings, unlike the other colt that ran in the Derby, Hokusai. Quite unusual for two, let alone one horse, to come from the Derby to this 1 mile St James's Palace. There's Willie Carson, who'll certainly be holding up Marju, I imagine, because he doesn't do a lot when he goes to the front. By all accounts, when he works at home, once he goes to the front, he's apt to think he's done enough. So Willie will be, I'm sure, riding him with restraint, even though he's coming back in distance. To go back to Acteur Français a moment, the third one. It's 31 years since a French-trained colt has won this race. That was actually the year that Steve was born, and that horse was Venture the Seventh, who won a match. Started at a very long odds on. In those days, the St James's Palace was the last race of the day, just as well it was on that occasion, but subsequently we've seen some magnificent races for the St James's Palace. I remember when Chris beat Young Generation, it was the last race of the day, and shortly after that epic duel it was decided to bring the St James's Palace into Pride of Place, the third race on the card. Acteur Francais having his first race in England and searching for his first win of the season. Jason Ward, who looks after number 5, Sapir, the one in the centre of your picture, has won the £100 award for the best turned out horse. A lot of competition for that at Royal Ascot. Some of the other meetings it's not all that difficult to win, but you've got to work really hard to win the £100 for the best turned out at this meeting. Here's a comparatively unknown quantity coming up. Second set, didn't run as a 2-year-old, has won both his races this year, beating Claret on both occasions. The first time starting at 100 to 30, and the second time odds-on favourite. And both times he made all and won with plenty in hand. Well, Claret is a useful horse, but he's not in the same class as these. He's been beaten. He was beaten up at York on Saturday, and second set is really thrown in at the deep end here, but Luca Cumani is a very skillful trainer and has won with a similar type of horse before. They're going round behind the stalls. That's second set in Marju and Soleil Dancer. Number 7, Soleil Dancer, with the distinguishing sheepskin noseband, the mount of John Reed. Soleil Dancer is trained by Matt McCormack, who won this 8 years ago with Horridge, who went clear on the home turn and galloped on well to hold on gamely. And Matt also won the Coventry Stakes with the same horse the previous year and has a very good record at the Royal Meetings. Soleil Dancer was second to Balwa over 7 furlongs at Newmarket last time, but had previously won the Thirst Classic trial over today's trip of a mile. Got more to do here, but looks a picture. Trainer and jockey had a winner yesterday, Young Duke at Brighton. The one about to load is Marge Lude, followed by second set, Hokusai nearest to us. And we've got Marju to go in, and Soleil Dancer. Soleil Dancer's going to have the blindfold on. It looks as if they'll be the last 2 to load. Soleil Dancer usually up with the pace. Marju goes in. Soleil Dancer will be the last. Let's join Peter O'Sullivan.
Marju 7-4, 3 Acteur Francais, that's it. Under orders, and they're away. Acteur Francais over on the far side, on the near side, Soleil Dancer, and second set right with up, and now Leicester up with them, and now Lester Piggott taking it up on Hokusai. Hokusai on the inside of second set with Acteur Francais on the outside. Then comes Marju in the inner, Sapir, Majloud, and Soleil Dancer's the back marker, and Lester Piggott is making it on Hokusai. Second set is next. Then comes Marju travelling easily just in behind them. On the outside is Acteur Francais as they race now towards the half-mile pole, and it's Hokusai on the inside of Acteur Francais. Then comes second set, Marju on the inner with Sapir, then Majloud and Soleil Dancer as the back marker. Racing into the home turn now, and as they do so, it's still Hokusai from Acteur Francais, Sapir, Majloud, Marju towards the outside of Soleil Dancer now as they swing into the home straight, and it's Hokusai still the leader from Acteur Francais. And then comes Sapir and Willie Carson producing a run now on Marju towards the stand side, and Marju beginning to pick him up swiftly towards the stand side. Acteur Francais in the centre, but Marju on the near side. Hocker's Eye over on the far side. Marju and Willie Carson have struck the front now, being challenged by second set. It's Marju now from second set as they race up towards the line, and Marju is the leader as they race to the line, being pressed by second set over on the far side. Second set putting in a tremendous run. Second set and Marju as they come to the line. It's a photo between Marju and second set. Marju on the near side, second set on the far side. Hocker's Eye was third. Marju may have just held second set. It's very close indeed. Marju on the near side and second set on the far side. When you hear the numbers called, Marju is number 4 and second set is number 6. Marju with a commanding advantage inside the final furlong, but being challenged all the time by second set and Frankie Dettori, and it's very close at the line, with possibly just Marju having held second set by a whisker, but it's not a thing you could bet on with confidence.
Well, what a terrific finish. And if Marju was beaten, it was because, in a way, he's so good. He's got there so quickly. He's come into the straight last. Willie Carson's pulled him round Sapir here. Meanwhile, up front, Acteur Français is coming to challenge the long-time leader, Hocker's Eye. Frankie Dettori gets plenty of room here for his challenge on second set, but Willie Carson asked Marju to pick up, and for a horse who's been running and ran over 1.5 miles in the Derby, look how quickly he's got there. He's got from last to first in a furlong, and he's hit the front over 200 yards out. Well, as John Hammond was saying before the race, that's early enough for Marju. He's 3/4 of a length, almost a length up on second set now, but as he does at home, having got there, he thinks he's done enough, and Frankie Dettori sees his chance on second set, drives second set in pursuit, hits the front about 50 yards from home, and then Willie manages to rally Marju in the last few strides, and what looked a certainty for second set at the line is a desperately close thing, and Marju may have got back up in the last stride. Desperately close on the line, Marju on the stand side, second set on the far side.
Yeah, I think we'll find we're looking at the winner here, Marju, after a really dramatic climax to the St James's Palace Stakes, still obviously awaiting the outcome. Marju, as you'll have noted, number 4, and second set number 6. A pat for second set from Frankie Dettori. Certainly ran a very good race, this 3-year-old, in a bid to achieve the victory in the St James's Palace for the 3rd time in recent years for his trainer Luca Cumani. And here comes Marju, marvellous training performance to get him back so soon after the Derby, 1.5 miles to run for his life in this St James's Palace Stakes. Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum, pretty confident probably that he's won. Here comes the outcome first. Number 4, Marju. Second, number 6. Second set. Third, number 2, Hocker's Eye. Fourth was number 1, Acteur Français. So 3 of the season's top riders with a single apiece so far, Michael Roberts, Steve Cawthon and Willie Carson. Tremendous run by the second there. Richard Dochessoir's Irish bred, second set by Elzao out of Merriment. And a great effort by Marju, the son of Last Tycoon out of Flame of Tara by Arteus. Picked him up really quickly after the turn for home in the manner of a really good horse. Ahead and 2 lengths. He went with a nod, as you saw. So, with Marju, a drifter in the market, from early betting, the narrow winner, the starting prices as follows.
First, number 4, Marju, 7-4 favourite. Second, number 6, second set, 4-1. And third, number 2, Hoxasai, 9-1. 7 round. Dillam is 11-10. Opened at evens. Dr. Devious 9-2. So is Showbrook. Sylvan Sabre 12-1. A combination is on 16-1. On 20-1, 3 of them: Tenacity, Wild Rufo, and Wind Power. And 25-1, Spanish Storm. 33-1 Bar.
Runners here for the Coventry, a Group 3 race, and some really good individuals in the paddock. This is one of them, number 5, Dillam. After showing a lot of speed at Newbury last month, was caught near the finish and beaten by Dr. Devious, but only by 3 parts of a length. Made no mistake on his next effort 10 days ago, getting the better of Bletchley Park by no less than 12 lengths. That was a Goodwood. Was held up just off the pace that day and quickened up well. And, well, he looked an exceptional colt in the making there. He's a big, powerful son of Tassio and ridden by Alan Monroe. He's 11-10 favourite. Pretty warm favourite, John, but a nice horse, isn't he?
He looks a very nice horse, Jimmy. He looked all over a winner at Newbury the first time. He seemed to have quickened clear and got the race won, but he didn't quite last home. 6-5 favourite, so he's eased a bit. And he made no mistake the second time, held up a little bit longer, and I don't think Alan Munro will go too soon today, especially with the horses making a bit of a print. The ground's a little bit slower than it probably would have been at Goodwood last time. Alan won this last year on Max Imp, another very fast 2-year-old, and beaten in that race was Generous, who Alan won the Derby on, so it's quite an important race for him.
This is number 6, Dr. Devious, just the 1 run. That was when beating Dr. Dillam at Newbury, a maiden at Newbury, and as John was saying, he got up in the closing stages that day and he stuck to his guns well. The 4th horse home on that occasion was 7 lengths off the first 3, which is always a good sign. They'd spread eagled the rest of the field, and well, I think he's going to make Dillam fight all the way there today, because that was a good run, John.
Yes, most people seem to be taking the view that Dillam will reverse the placings. He's a very hot favourite with Dr. Devious at 5 or 6-1, I think. They've both got different jockeys today. Pat Edry takes over on Dr. Devious from Frankie Dettori, and Alan Munro takes over from Richard Quinn on Dillam. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. They meet on exactly the same terms. So the one we're looking at is the form horse.
Dr. Devious will be coming out of stall 10, Dillam coming out of stall 6. They're not too far away from each other, really. And, well, quite a big field, 14 runners. I would think that they'll run down a bit towards the middle, although I always think Stan's Rail is a little bit of an advantage when the ground's riding really good. Let's have a look at number 9. This is another well-fancied runner, Showbrook. Looked impressive when winning the Woodcott Stakes at Epsom 12 days ago. He handled the track well and ran out no less than a 6-length winner over Darman Mine. He's a lovely balanced horse. He came down the hill really well that day. He was held up by Bruce Raymond, and when asked the question, he soon went clear. Bruce has the ride again on him today. I liked him there, John, did you?
I did. He was beaten a short head by Fair Cop first time out at Goodwood. Fair Cop's trained by Paul Cole, like Dillam, and so obviously Paul Cole will have a good line, and the local rumour is that Dillam is quite a bit in front of Fair Cop, so I should imagine that the Dillam stable are confident of beating Showbrook. Nonetheless, Showbrook could have improved quite a bit from his first run. As you say, he spread-eagled his field at Epsom.
Number 11, this is Sylvan Sabre. After winning the Brocklesby at Doncaster, was not disgraced when a length and a half second behind probably the best 2-year-old filly in England at the moment. That was Central City at Salisbury. Didn't take him long to recapture winning form when beating Coral's Dream by a length. That was at York. Started a bit slow that day, but was well suited by the 6 furlongs, and I think is going to find this track very much to his liking here today. John Williams, looking for his 34th winner of the season. What a season he's having. 12-1 for Sylvan Sabre. Philip Mitchell trains this colt by Flash of Steel at Epsom, and well, Philip does very well with his small string there, and nearly always pops up with a fast performer.
The colt started the very first day of the season at Doncaster when beating Regal Chimes, 21st of March. Didn't run again till May when unable to match the speed of the Flying Filly Central City over 5 furlongs at Salisbury, but running over today's trip of 6, got up to beat Coral Stream at York.
Looks well bought, good individual, flash of steel, and as I was saying, Philip always has an eye for a bit of a bargain. You can just see John Williams just undoing the first plat there, and a lot of jocks like this, because when the stall's open they like to have a little bit of mane to grab hold of, just to make sure that they leave a little bit off the horse's mouth. Have a look at number 3, Combination. Going down a little free. This one's trained by Linda Ramsden. Dean McEwen in the saddle. 16 to 1 in the market. Won the last 2 of his 3 starts. That was a maiden at Nottingham, and then a small race at Ponty when getting the better of Man of the Moment by half a length. Both those races were over today's distance, and I think he's another one that'll appreciate the stiff 6, John.
He seemed to be coming to win nicely at Pontefract, but in the end he was flat out to beat Man of the Moment by half a length, possibly still a bit green. He's going down nicely with Dean McEwen. His owner, Mr. David Thompson, also runs Tenacity, who's one of Jack Berry's 3 runners. But Combination carries the first colours. 16 to 1.
The 2-year-olds, most of them are down at the gate. There's number 10. This is Spanish Storm, 25 to 1 in the market, the mount of Paul Edery. Spanish Storm won a small race over 5 furlongs at Thirst, but showed better form when tried over today's distance at Kempton, when he got the better of Castadou by half a length. He made most of the 6 furlongs that day, and another one that stayed on really well. Paul Edery, he's rocking his share of winners this year, 24 winners already to his credit. This one's trained at Newmarket by Tony Hyde, by King of Spain, and would have to find a little bit on his form, I'd say, John.
Yes, he looks fairly exposed, though he hasn't done much wrong in his 4 races, winning 2 and being placed in the other 2. Number 14 on the right is Wind Power, carrying the second colours of Robert Sangster. The first colours are carried by Dr. Devious. Wind Power's one of Jack Berry's 3 runners, finished 5th to Showbrook at Epsom. As we said earlier, Showbrook acted particularly well on the course. Wind Power acted particularly badly, and by the time they ran into Tattenham Corner, he was hopelessly tailed off, last of the 6 runners. But he did go on well at the finish when he'd finally got the hang of the course, and finished only about 3 lengths behind the second horse, having been a good 15 behind at one stage.
By Sharpo, if you remember, that good sprinter trained by Jeremy Tree, and well, he's put in quite a lot of speed in his sons and daughters, and he's inherited his sire's colour. Number 13 there, the grey, Wild Rufo, got off the mark the second time of asking on his home track, that was at Newmarket. Was always travelling well, had a bit up his sleeve to beat Bassio by 2 lengths, that was over today's distance. He's trained by Paul Kellaway, 25 to 1 from 20s. And Paul, never one to shirk the issue, doesn't mind where he or who he takes on with his horses, and sometimes it pays off for him as well. Trained many big successes. That's Wild Rufo. I think the draw will have a little bit of effect here, really, as I was saying. I think the lower numbers usually have a little bit up their sleeve, so it'll be interesting to see how some of the higher draws, it'll give us an eye on tomorrow exactly how the Hunt Cup will be affected. There's number 7, this is the mount of Lester Pickett, Elton Ledger, still a maiden after 4 starts, but has been runner-up on 2 occasions in small races. The form doesn't look quite good enough. Another one of Jack Berry train runners. He has 3 in the race, in fact 66-1 in the market.
I thought his best run was when second to Young Senior at York. Lester Piggott's been riding quite a few for Jack Berry. Jack Berry mostly employs John Carroll, but he also uses Pat Edry and Lester Piggott, Willie Carson from time to time. Number 8 there, Master Planner, having his 3rd race in 8 days. And that's Pat Edry on number 6 in Robert Sangster's first colours.
Well, let's have a look at what the 14 runners have to face. And it's quite a climb from the 6 furlong stalls until they just pop over the rise. There's the road, which is quite a good guide to say when you have a big field right across the course, you can nearly always pick which side is leading. There's the turn into the straight, but they run downhill a little bit from after they've gone a furlong and a half, and they start to climb again all the way up to the winning post. So it's pretty daunting for a 2-year-old to face that, and hence that you'll find that although you do get the odd one with a lot of speed, wins from the front here, very often it's all to play for with about half a furlong to run. The crowd spilling out from the centre onto the jump track on the inside. Well, now we're back down at the start, watching the starter, in fact, loading up the mount of Lanfranco de Torre. Number 13, he goes into stall 11, or will be. The blind on. Give him a turn, see if they can take his mind off which way he's facing. Number 1, that's Amadeus Ayers, goes into stall 2. Been blinkered for the first time today, John.
Yes, he'd be one of the outsiders. Finished second to Governor's Imp at Haydock. The starter getting a little bit impatient with some of the jockeys who seem to be hanging back. They're trying again with Wild Rufo, and it looks as if he's gone in. So Wild Rufo's in, but we've still got quite a few more. Here's Master Planner, number 8. He made his racecourse debut just 8 days ago, and now he's already having his 3rd race. He won at Brighton, was 3rd at Newbury to last exit, and now he takes his chance in the Coventry Stakes.
Well named, John. He's by night shift, so they've kept him going day and night.
Number 4 is Computer Kid on the left, but let's have another look at the betting. Dillham's come in again to 11 to 10, shortened a shade. Dr. Devious has gone out a shade to 9 to 2, 9 to 2 Showbrook, and it's 10 to 1 bar the 3. The favourite was also the best turned out, so Kerry Allen wins the prize, £100. And I think Computer Kid will be the last. Here's Peter O'Sullivan.
That's it. Spanish Storm nearest to us. And they're away. And a pretty good even break. Wild Rufo just lost a little bit of ground leaving the stalls, showing very good speed in the centre, his tenacity, and also Computer Kid's right up there with them. And on the far side is Win Power on the far side. Elton Ledger's up there too, Leicester, Computer Kid, and in the centre Dillham now has come to join the leaders. Dillham, Elton Ledger, and over on the far side Win Power. They're being tracked by Computer Kid, Wild Rufo. Dr. Devious is getting into the picture now, but Dillham is the leader as they come down to the 2 furlong pole. It's Dillham now, the clear leader under Alan Munro from Computer Kid, Dr. Devious. Showbrook's putting it around towards the stand side, but Dillham is holding him very cosily at the moment as they race inside the final furlong, and Dillham looks like winning the Coventry as Dr. Devious chases him, but vainly. Dillham is really stretching well and going to win this very comfortably indeed. Dillham is the winner from Dr. Devious and Castadoul as they come to the line. Dillham, Dr. Devious and Castadoul's the 1, 2, 3 and 4 is Computer Kid. Last for the record is Amadeus Ace, and so a very impressive winner indeed. Dillon gets an immediate 106 favourite quote for the 2,000 guineas of 1992 from Ladbrokes as the result of the Group 3 Coventry Stakes is number 5. First, number 5, Dillon, owned by Sheikh Fahd Salman, trained by Paul Cole and ridden by Alan Munro. The trio responsible, of course, for the 1991 Derby winner Generous. Second, a distant second, was number 6, Dr. Devious, owned by Robert Sangster, trained by P.W. Chapel Hyam and ridden by Pat Edery. And third was number 2, Castadoo, owned by Mr. Ettore Landi, trained by Pip Payne and ridden by Tony Cruz. Fourth was number 4, Computer Kid. This is the very impressive winner. $24,000 as a foal, 75 Irish punts as a yearling. Dillon by Tasso out of Yanuka III.
He took it up at about a halfway stage of the race, and he put his stamp on it by the time they passed the 2 furlong. The horse who beat him at Newbury, Dr. Devious, was the only danger at this point. Dropping away, the early leader, Elton Ledger, on the far side, and racing very wide of the rest, the other Sangster horse, Wind Power. But there was no serious threat from now on at all. Castledew, that runs on in the blue and white stripes into 3rd place. But Alan Munro, with that American crouch of his, just gives this big, strong, dark brown horse a couple of smacks just to keep him up to his work. But he's a real galloper, this horse. He's just ahead of his contemporaries. He's a well-developed horse who just seems to be one stride, half a stride in front of the rest, and he gallops onto the line to win by a good 3 lengths from Dr. Devious and Castadoo.
The 11-10 favourite. So 2 of the major plunges of the 1991 Royal Ascot meeting, Mardew and Dillon, have both obliged. A very impressive horse, this, who will leave Sheikh Fahd Salman with justified dreams of further classic honours in 1992. Sustaining a great season for young Alan Munro, winner this colt now of 2 of his 3 races. Foaled on April the 8th, the son of the American Tasso out of Yanuka III, who was by Pitcairn. A very impressive winner of a less prestigious contest at Goodwood. Had this invariably very significant 6 furlong 2-year-old contest sewn up a long way from home. It's been won by some very distinguished horses in the past, and this winner has got home without any difficulty by 3 lengths. A race that in the old days Ladas won before winning the 2000 in Derby, Persimmon before winning the Derby in Ledger, Roxanne before winning the Derby 2000 in Ledger, St. Amant, Cicero, Colorado, Fairway, Dialite, all classic winners, on and on, including not so long ago Jim Joel's Royal Palace, that was actually unplaced in this before going on to win the Derby. Here now the starting prices on Dillon's race.
First, number 5, Dillon, 11-10 favourite. Second, number 6, Dr. Devious, 9-2, And third, number 2, Castadu, 44
Marcus Thorpe,
to 1.
Secret Haunt, Malmsey improving on the outside. Jarhafel is just last as they come to the straight. And Sadler's Hall with Corrupt going second on the outside of Peking Opera. Then Collins Avenue, Secret Haunt, Marcus Thorpe and Malmsey all in a group, and 3 or 4 lengths to Jarhafel. But Sadler's Hall the leader as they turn into the straight from Peking Opera. Then Corrupt, Marcus Thorpe trying to make ground on the inside. Then Malmsey towards the outside, but Sadler's Hall going for home with 2.5 furlongs to race. Sadler's Hall and Lester Piggott from Marcus Thorpe. Then Secret Haunt in third place, followed by Corrupt and Malmsey. But Sadler's Hall and Lester Piggott are clear of Marcus Thorpe. Then Secret Haunt, Corrupt and Malmsey, and Lester Piggott is well clear coming into the last furlong. Lester, who last rode here in 1985, is going to win the King Edward VII Stakes. It's a battle for second between Secret Haunt and Marcus Thorpe, are running up towards the line. Sadler's Hall wins it easily. Secret Haunt gets the better of Marcus Thorpe for second. Malmsey's back in fourth. Corrupt the favourite, only fifth.
Sadler's Hall, the winner, 7 to 1. Second, Secret Haunt, 6 to 1. Third, Marcus Thorpe at 20 to 1.